A lot of people have heard of the Area 51 base in Nevada and all the mysterious happenings in that area linked to UFOs and aliens. But have you ever heard of Dulce Base? The Dulce Base is much more secretive and much more sinister than Area 51. As a comparison, Area 51 is the place where humans experiment on aliens, and Dulce Base is where aliens experiment on humans. Either way, it's pretty much fucked up. Dulce, New Mexico is located right on the Colorado-New Mexico border. It's a quaint little town with a population at just under 3,000. It's the tribal headquarters of the Jicarilla Apache Reservation. It's also the location of a hidden underground alien base inside the Archuleta Mesa. Not surprisingly, Dulce has the largest number of UFO sightings per capita in the world. Phil Schneider, a geologist and explosives engineer who worked for the U.S. government with over 17 years' experience working on black projects, is without a doubt one of the most significant whistleblowers in modern-day history. He had an extremely high security level clearance, and he heavily participated in the construction of a secret underground base in Dulce, New Mexico. He specialized on building deep underground military bases, better known as DUMBs. That's just too easy. He advised that authenticated information about aliens is kept well hidden from the public, and that the U.S. military has known about the presence of aliens dating back to 1909. That doesn't surprise me. In 1979, Schneider was working for Morrison Knudsen on a geology team digging shafts for an underground base in Dulce, New Mexico. Schneider said he was suspicious of the operation when he saw countless Green Berets and Special Forces everywhere. Schneider maintained that in August of 1979, construction on the Dulce base had begun to fall behind schedule due to issues relating to the drilling of one of the corner columns. It's always the corners, isn't it? The facility was being tunneled out beneath the southwest corner of the Archuleta Mesa. But every time the drilling team had attempted to pass a certain depth, they noticed that their machinery was mysteriously failing. The drill bit finally punched through, and a black, sooty gas escaped up into their level. In an effort to discover what was hampering the drilling operation, Schneider and his Green Beret bodyguard had to be lowered into the incomplete shaft via crane. They got in the lift and were lowered down. But as soon as he stepped out of the crane basket into what appeared to be a pre-existing cave network, he had instantly realized that something was very, very wrong. There was a bitter and unnatural foul stench in the air, as the drilling operation had now allowed ancient gases to escape from the void beneath, along with a mysterious yellow residue on the unusually smooth walls of the caves. I think I've seen this movie. It was at this point that a 7-foot-tall, slender, gray figure had suddenly stepped out of the shadows in front of him, carrying what appeared to be a weapon of some kind. Schneider said of the creature, The stench was worse than the worst garbage can. The entity was absolutely horrible. Utterly terrified by the creature's unearthly and intimidating appearance, Schneider quickly drew his sidearm and killed it with 2 shots. Unfortunately, 2 more of them immediately emerged out of the darkness behind it. "Open fire!" Backing towards the crane basket and firing wildly, the engineer had managed to drop one of the pair, only for the other to then return fire with its own plasma type of weapon in retaliation. Schneider was instantly consumed by an eerie blue light and felt a huge jolt of electricity burst through his body, which had sent him crashing to the cave floor. He was hit and lost 2 fingers and part of his left hand. Phil was absolutely sure he was going to die. Where in the hell is his bodyguard? He promptly came to and found himself being put into the crane basket by the Green Beret, who then turned and furiously engaged more of the creatures as the basket began to ascend without him. The Green Beret gave cover fire while Phil was lifted safely out of danger. The heroic Green Beret took out 4 more creatures before he too was killed in the firefight. Okay, he redeemed himself. Several fire teams of Green Berets and Black Berets were quickly dispatched in an all-out assault. Just mere minutes later, a team of gray-colored aliens appeared at a doorway in the cave and immediately opened fire on the growing military presence. In short order, at least 3 members of the platoon were reduced to dark, lumpy piles of ash. What the fuck? Their bodies were charred beyond all recognition following their exposure to the horrible weaponry employed by their enemy. Despite this, the well-trained armed forces had managed to successfully push the enemy force deeper into the facility, as they had been ordered to do so. If they could just secure the stairwell in front of them, the mission would be a success. Waving across the corridor, where 2 more of his team members were sheltering behind another crate, the lieutenant began to issue a series of orders using hand signals. Moments later, the pair were up on their feet and creeping towards the looming metal door, each tightly clutching a satchel charge. It's about to get real. Their intention was clear, but before they could reach their objective, the door suddenly sprung wide open. 6 skeletal figures materialized from the darkness within, followed by a flurry of terrifying blue energy discharges from their weapons. The 2 soldiers carrying the charges did not even have time to cry out as their bodies were engulfed in a ball of brilliant blue flame. Almost immediately, an infantryman further down the corridor, operating the platoon's M60 heavy machine gun, opened fire, shredding the attackers with a steady hail of gunfire. "Send them to hell!" More soldiers then ran forward, snatching up the discarded satchel charges and primed them before hurling them through the open doorway. "Take cover!" There was an enormous explosion, immediately followed by a shower of dust and debris as the stairwell caved in, preventing their enemy from accessing this floor or any others which lay above them. Leaving 2 of his men to cover the collapsed structure. That's it? The lieutenant and the remainder of his platoon made their way back up through the facility towards the main loading area. But upon his arrival, he was shocked to see that 2 more covered army trucks had arrived, discharging several more squads of soldiers, all wearing black uniforms, who hurried towards the corridors from which he and his men had just emerged. Here comes the cavalry. Turning to his commanding officer, he abruptly inquired as to what was taking place, who this unit was, and why they were now heading underground towards the lower levels. Curtly dismissed by the officer, he and his fellow troops could only watch on as the mysterious soldiers continued to head deeper into the base, where so many U.S. forces had already lost their lives in an effort to contain the marauding extraterrestrial threat. I guess they're Black Ops troops. For the next year, it was recorded that further battles beneath the mesa ensued as U.S. Special Forces clashed with alien interlopers, who appeared intent on hindering the construction of the base. After the dust had finally settled, 66 soldiers and countless extraterrestrials lost their lives before an uneasy peace agreement was finally reached between the 2 opposing sides. Schneider went on to publicly state that the aliens who had been residing beneath the mesa for 400 to 500 years had worked with humans ever since, creating numerous scientific breakthroughs which had gone on to assist mankind throughout 1995. Yeah, they gave us cell phones. Schneider continued to tour the United States as a whistleblower, giving talks in which he listed numerous other conspiracies alongside the revelations of deep underground military bases. In September 1995, Schneider gave a presentation at the Preparedness Expo in Denver, in which he exposed the New World Order agenda and how it connects with extraterrestrials. Oh shit, I've heard of this. During his speech, he presented physical evidence of alien metals and artifacts, along with additional photographs to further validate his claims. Over the course of these lectures, however, it soon became apparent that the former engineer was beginning to struggle with what he had started. 16 days before he gave the presentation, Schneider was shot in the shoulder by an FBI agent who attempted to kill him. Schneider successfully defended himself and shot and killed the agent. He reported the incident to the FBI, who dismissed him and the entire incident in a further slap to the face. He openly disclosed that 11 previous attempts were made on his life since he started speaking out. He also expressed that Defense Intelligence Agency representatives tried to kidnap his daughter, but were unsuccessful due to the heroic actions of his ex-wife. His ex-wife is a badass. Less than 6 months after giving his presentation, he was found dead in his apartment with a piano wire wrapped around his neck 3 times in what most would classify as a military-style execution. According to some close to the investigation, Schneider had been repeatedly and brutally tortured before being killed. Regardless, the authorities somehow ruled his death a suicide. Right. In January of 1996, federal agents arrived at the home of Schneider's ex-wife, Cynthia, the badass. They explained how Phil had been found dead in his apartment in Wilsonville, having apparently decided to take his own life. They searched her house and seized everything related to his presentations and his work as an engineer. That reeks of a cover-up. Phil, knowing he was a target and that what he was doing was fucking with hugely powerful people and creatures, preemptively told everyone he knew that he was a marked man, and that if it was ever reported that he died mysteriously or took his own life, that he was actually murdered. Foreshadowing, a smart man. Some disturbing information that he revealed and was eventually assassinated for included more than 500 billion, with a B, was being allocated every year to black projects dealing with alien matters. And that was in 1995. Who knows what it's up to now? He further asserted that 28% of the U.S. gross national product was being spent on building underground bases. This black budget, as he referred to it, goes around Congress completely. There's no doubt that these projects are still continuing to this day. In 1995, there were 131 active underground military bases in the United States, and approximately 1,477 underground bases around the world. Each base cost an average of $17 to $19 billion in 1995 money, and took 1 to 2 years to construct, with the use of highly advanced methods of construction that included vitrifying and melting rock using lasers that reduced the rock to powder and then smoothed out the tunnels using boring machines. I guess using them put you to sleep? Schneider further added that these bases are massive and house thousands and thousands of people. The one at Area 51 holds 18,000, and it's much smaller than Dulce. Magneto-leviton trains connect all the underground military bases within the United States in an enormous transport system capable of speeds of Mach 2 or higher. Holy shit! He confirmed that there is a whole other world down there that is filled with both human and alien life forms. I wonder if they have to use separate bathrooms. President Eisenhower signed an agreement in 1954 with extraterrestrials, granting them permission to experiment on humans and cattle in exchange for technology. This agreement, known as the Greta Treaty, is a well-documented event. Schneider revealed that there are 11 distinct alien races living on Earth. 2 of these species are benevolent and protect humans. 9 of them view humans as a food source. However, they are not all cannibals. Whew, that's a relief. Instead, they use secretions from the glands of humans and animals for the mixtures of vitamins in their food. And some alien races can get high off of human adrenaline. Oh, what a rush! The New World Order and the alien agenda are one and the same. Schneider describes the alien agenda as the complete takeover of this planet, killing off 5/6 to 7/8 of the world's population by 2029 by way of war, and or disease. Obviously, an alien takeover would mean that a one-world government would be put into place. And that would be the end of freedom as we know it.